Hello, today is the 19th of July 2024. This video is going to be about a big step that I made, a big learning that I had 2 days ago. And the step is in relation to my psychology, my mental health. It was, something that I admitted to myself, which I was so afraid of, so terrified of admitting to myself for a very, very long time. And it came about because on Tuesday I went to work again, and it was an actual pain having to go to work and being at work. And on Wednesday evening, because I knew the next day I'm gonna go back to work again, and I resisted it so much. I really dreaded going to work the next day, that the pain was just at such a level that I wanted to help myself, and I kind of had to see what the pain was about and what I was so scared of. At this point, I couldn't really run away from it anymore. I couldn't hide from it because it was just so big and so painful. And at this point, I didn't want to run away from it anymore because I wanted to help myself. So I began by telling Mom how the day before, when I had to go to work, it was actually really painful. And I had told her that morning already that at the moment, like, my thoughts are very more dark than they usually are. For the past year, I haven't really been doing great, and my thoughts haven't been great. They have been very dark at moments, extremely dark, but that morning especially, I just told her that my thoughts are very dark, that sometimes I even question what the point is in living. And it's not that I want to die or I want to leave this world or whatever, but I really question what is the point in living? And I can't find an answer. I can't find a reason. That's when Mom really noticed that, wow, my thoughts are very dark and I must be at some place that is very painful. So it was Wednesday evening, and like I said, I told her how it was really a pain going into work and being in work because I have this negative self-talk in my head that is so dark. It pulls me down so much that it really diminishes my life and my light of life that everyone has within. I don't remember the exact words, but I told her something along the lines of that my negative self-talk is so dark and it pulls me down so much that it really diminishes the light that I have, the light of life inside myself. It's as though I'm drowning myself. I'm killing myself until there is no more light, until I'm just questioning how I'm supposed to live with myself. And it feels like I don't know how I'm supposed to live with myself. And I told her how the thing that makes it even more difficult is that there is no reason from the outside that I have to talk to myself that way. There is no reason on the outside that makes me feel like I'm a horrible person, because my job and the people around me are absolutely lovely and loving. But I am still experiencing this negative self-talk inside myself that depletes my sense of life, of feeling alive, and that I am at work and basically just am there. I didn't say like a robot and don't feel alive, but I can't remember the exact words I said. And the thing is, like, it really reminded me, it's basically the same as I had in my school time, as in, like, in my school time I had so much more thoughts even, and so much worse. But the negative self-talk is basically the same. Whereas in school, I had millions of reasons from the outside why I would have this negative talk in my head, and why I would feel so horrible and feel so depleted and broken and shattered and have no more life inside of me. There was all these different reasons, whereas now there is no reason for me to actually feel this way and to do that to myself. And this time what is different is that I am doing it to myself. I am talking this negatively about myself and to myself. And I read in a book as well that, like, not the negative self-talk in our head is not necessarily our own voice. It's the voices of many different people that we have heard over the years of our life, and that we believed in and we agreed with. We believed in what they said and what we heard, and because we agreed with that, we caught on to that negative self-talk and now have that spiral in our own mind. Mom said it doesn't matter if there's a reason for why I had that self-talk in my depression, that negative talk, or why there's no reason from the outside now for me to talk like this to myself. She said the point is, it's the same thing. It's the same voice in my mind. If there's a reason for it externally to be triggered, or if there's an external reason for why I would have that or not, it doesn't matter. The point is, it's just the same negative self-talk that is coming up because it's inside of me. I told her about how horrible it was at work on Tuesday, even though nothing horrible happened in work, there was no reason, but how much I was drowning myself, and I was doing that to myself. And I told her how I really, really don't want to go to work tomorrow. The next day, I just feel like I can't go to work, like. And Dad came in as well and kind of listened to me talking about how negative that is, and the self-talk and blah, blah, blah. And they told me a few things I can do, like the workbook that Mom gave me for like OCD people, the workbook that Dad got, that I should do that because it goes back to our core beliefs, and that with that, like, I can turn it, like, completely turn my beliefs around, the beliefs I have about myself and whatever is pulling me down, that it's like really good, it can really help me. It's not just like it talks about surface stuff, it really goes deep into the origin of where it came from and what it's about. They were talking about that for like a couple minutes, and I wanted, like, what they were saying is like what I want. Like, I want to help myself, I want to look into this workbook and heal and get answers, but right there in that moment, it wasn't what I needed to hear. I didn't need to be distracted even more from something that I keep distracting myself from. In that moment, I needed to become more aware of the pain instead of be distracted by, oh, here's this workbook, just work on it, and kind of like go out of the pain, work on this workbook, instead of just see the pain. And so even though everything was true that they were saying, and I was like, that is what I want to do as well, it's still like in that moment, it was just distracting me from the point of why I went to Mom or why I was talking to Mom. So when Dad left the room after he gave his advice about the workbook and stuff, I returned to speaking to Mom, and I kind of said that, yeah, like, it's all right, it's all good, but right now, like, I just need to see this pain. I don't want to go on to the next thing already, onto this workbook. I don't want to distract myself from that pain, because that is what I've been doing all these months, and it's still there and it still comes up since I lost the property and the house. There's so many reasons for why I feel that pain, so much fear, because all that I knew before that house and that property was pain, was suffering, was wanting to die. And then when I lost it, obviously all that I had left was what I had before, and that was just pain and suffering. And because I felt like I can't see how much pain I am in, and because I was so convinced like I couldn't fall back into so much pain that I was in before, but then felt a lot of pain again when I lost that property and that house, I was just like, I can't look at the pain, I can't become aware of it. It felt so strong that it was like, I didn't know if I could handle that. I didn't know if I could survive that. So for months, for a year, I have been distracting myself from that pain, from admitting to that pain. That feels so horrible, because I was like, I don't know if I can survive it. It felt so strong. I didn't know if I could, because in my depression, I experienced it in a way that I was like, I can't survive this. Like, it feels like I am dying. I don't know how I'm supposed to live another day like this. And so now I kept distracting myself because I was afraid to see the pain in case I couldn't survive it. And that obviously shows that the pain must have been so strong and so scary that I had to distract myself from it. That is how strong it was. That is how painful it was, that I had to distract myself from it, because I didn't know if I could survive it, if I actually saw the full pain, if I actually felt it to its fullest. And what Mom said to me, which brought almost all of this out, was she said, it must be so horrible to have that self-talk in your mind. Like, I wish I could like go to work for you, and Leona, we can figure something out, but what you're going through must be so hurtful and so horrible, and it sounds really painful. And when she just said those few sentences and just kind of acknowledged my pain and put her hand out to reach mine, it brought me to tears, because that was kind of what I needed, for her to acknowledge and for someone to see how painful it is, instead of just seeing, oh, here's an answer, here's something that could help you, blah blah blah, but instead seeing that I'm not doing okay at the moment. It's really bad. It's so horrible. I don't sometimes have moments where I don't know what it's worth living for. I don't see a reason for life anymore. I really genuinely ask myself, what is the reason for living, for life? And I literally can't find it. And I can't enjoy anything for months, and I'm in so much pain for months, and I haven't found a proper answer to it for months, and it doesn't seem like it's getting better. And when I then started crying because Mom acknowledged my pain and acknowledged that at least she can see to some extent that it's really horrible at the moment inside of myself, she then gave me a hug when I started crying. And when she hugged me, that is when the fog, which is the distraction, lifted away from the pain, and I could clearly see what the pain was. The fog was covering the pain for all these months, and obviously it was hurting me, it was distorting my vision, It was covering my vision. It was covering everything in my life. But now, in that moment, the fog lifted and I saw pain. I saw so much pain. The fog is the distractions. And I knew that if I were to lift it off, if I were to remove the fog, I would see something that I do not want to see. Something that I am so afraid of to see. But now, I couldn't ignore it anymore because the pain was so much and it felt so bad. It felt like I knew in that moment I was not okay. And that is what the pain was about. That I am not okay. And then the puzzle pieces got put together. And I asked Mom, do you remember when we were still living in that house? Towards the end of it, where like we knew we were gonna move out and the drama had already begun and stuff. We were gonna have to move out and the drama already began and stuff. Do you remember me telling you how scared I am to become depressed again? And she answered with yes. I then said, it's because I was so afraid that I'm not gonna be okay. I was so scared to become depressed because I was so scared to feel like I'm not okay and that I'm not able to handle it, because that is what I experienced in my depression. I was like, there is no possible way I can handle it. And when I lost the house and the property, I was left with pain, with suffering, and I kept distracting myself. I kept covering up the pain. I kept trying not to see it. I kept trying to convince myself that I am okay, that I'm gonna make it, I'll be fine, it's all okay. I kept trying to convince myself of that. I kept trying to say that to myself. But in reality, I didn't know if I am okay, and I was so afraid to see that I am not okay, because in reality, I was not okay. And I am not okay. I don't feel okay. I haven't felt okay for over a year. And I was terrified of seeing that I am not okay. Because the last time I felt it, I didn't think I could survive it. I didn't know if I would be okay. So what I was constantly feeling throughout this whole past year is that I didn't feel okay, but I could never admit that to myself. I always distracted myself. I could never find a solution because I was trying to distract myself from noticing that I am not okay. But I knew deep down that I am not okay. And now I can't distract myself anymore. Because in that moment, at work on Tuesday and in that moment with Mom on Wednesday, I didn't feel okay, and I could notice clearly that I am not okay. I am not feeling okay. And that is when the fog lifted and I saw what was behind it. Feeling not okay. And being so scared of seeing that. Because I was so scared that I would relive something that I lived through in my depression, and I did not want that. I did not think I could live like that another time. I knew I can't live like that again, and I was terrified of seeing that I'm not okay. But now that I saw it, now that I cried about it so hard in Mom's arms and saw so clearly how I'm not okay, I don't feel okay. Now that I have noticed that and seen it, I knew that I will be okay. I knew without a doubt that I will be okay. In my depression, I didn't know it, and that is why I was so scared to see how much pain I was in now, to see that I am not okay, in case I wouldn't feel like I'd ever be okay again, in case I'd feel like I really am not okay and there's no way I can be okay. There's no way that I am okay. But it wasn't like that because of everything I went through, because it can't go back to the way it was, because of everything you experienced after that, because of everything I learned, because of everything I went through after that to grow and heal and learn and move forward. And because I went through that horrible time and made it through and actually felt happiness and joy and fulfillment afterwards, I know that it is possible. I know that I can feel that way again. So I knew so clearly that I will be okay. And I wasn't afraid anymore to see that I am not okay right now. And when I explained this to Mom in kind of like different words, and I'd say more clear because then the picture was clear in front of me. Now it's like, yeah, my thoughts went on already. It's 2 days ago. But when I explained it to her, she reached out her hand to me again and she started crying because she pointed out how much strength I am speaking with right now. She pointed out that what I just did takes so much courage and so much strength, and the way I spoke was so full of strength. She said that she could clearly feel it and see it when I was speaking. And she pointed out how in that moment where I saw how I'm not doing okay, in that moment I finally saw the part of me that was suffering for all these months. That part of me which wasn't okay. The part of me that needed someone to tell her, to show her that she will be okay. I was finally ready to see that part of myself who was in so much pain. That part of myself which wasn't okay. Now, those parts of me reunited again. And the part of me that felt like she is not okay, she doesn't know how she's supposed to survive that, how is she supposed to live like that again, she now trusted me that we will be okay, that I will be okay. She finally trusted me to open up and to acknowledge that I am not okay right now. That part of me was finally ready to trust that we will be okay. And because I had these two split parts, is also a reason why I obviously didn't feel whole. I couldn't be present in the present moment because not every part of me was present. One part of me was completely not okay, and I was covering it up with fog, with distractions, and didn't see it. And in order to be present, you need to be here. Every part of you present, but a part of me never was. Part of me could never enjoy anything because that part wasn't okay. And I then saw as well how I was rejecting a part of myself all this time. I was ignoring a part of myself. I was putting a part of myself down because I was so afraid to see that part which was not doing okay. In case I couldn't survive that. In case I would never be okay again. But I was constantly rejecting a part of myself, therefore causing me more pain by not allowing myself to be the way I am, to feel not okay, to be whole and at one with everything about me, even that pain. But I couldn't, and I wasn't ready to see that part for all these months, because I didn't have the trust that I would survive it. And now that I had no choice but to see the pain, it also showed me how I really am not the way I was in my depression. It really can never be that way again. Or it really is not that way, because I know I'll be fine. And I didn't know that in my depression. And I know it because of what I went through, because I went through the depression, but then was okay again afterwards. I actually made it through. I actually felt joy and happiness again. And something my therapist pointed out today is that she thinks it wasn't that I had no choice anymore but to see the pain. She thinks that I could have chosen to run away from it for longer. I could have chosen to distract myself, but I didn't want to anymore. And that is also very true. But it's because the pain was so strong that I didn't want to run away from it anymore. I wanted to help myself. I wanted to find out what this is. And even though I wanted that for so many months as well, I just wasn't ready, and the pain it didn't feel unbearable anymore. It was like, it still felt like I was able to distract myself from it. Now it didn't feel like I could distract myself from it anymore, because it was so strong, because it was so horrible, and it was scaring me because it felt like I am not okay. It made me feel like I am literally not okay. And that is what the pain was all about. And now because of all these months I distracted myself, it just grew and got stronger until I couldn't distract myself, and it made me feel like I'm not okay. And then I had to actually feel that way, think those thoughts, and notice how I am not okay. And then I noticed how that was the pain and the fear I was feeling all this entire year. And then I realized all of this. So what she said and what I said are both linked, and it all makes sense. It makes so much sense. And it does not mean that from now on, I'll be okay and I'll be whole again and I'll be fine and I'm healed. No, but this was a big stepping stone. This is what I was distracting myself from all this time, trying to run away from it. And this is what I was feeling at work all the time. I felt like I'm not okay. I don't feel okay. And I was covering it up with thoughts of beating myself up and stuff. But those thoughts are also, I guess, linked to that feeling, because what they triggered was feeling like, I'm not okay. They triggered the feeling of not feeling okay. And that's what I was really trying to get away from. When I went to Spain, I was trying to get away from this, feeling like I'm not okay, because I thought I can't handle that. And then on Tuesday, when work was so horrible, I didn't feel okay, but I couldn't admit that to myself, so I couldn't make myself even feel okay anymore. But instead, by constantly trying not to see it, I caused myself more pain. And then at work, the more I felt not okay and it came to the surface, the more I resisted it, the more I dreaded going to work, because it made me feel like I'm not okay. And I was scared of feeling that way. I didn't want to feel that way. That's what work triggered in me all the time. And that's what these negative self-talk thoughts were triggering in me all the time. And that's what I really hate about the negative self-talk, making me feel like I'm not okay, and then not knowing if I can handle that, which again is scared of losing control, not being able to handle it, not having control over it. Like, again, it's all linked to this one thing. And yeah, this, like, that's also why when people tell me like what to do or what can help me, I more like resist it and I go against it, and I can't really listen to that. Or I tell mom and dad like, yeah but, or no but, or I like, that's not what I need to hear right now, or please just listen to me or stuff. I say those things because I say them when I notice I'm close to something. I'm close to a realization, to something that really matters. And I didn't want to distract myself anymore. And like, obviously this workbook, notebook thingy can help me to find solutions, but to me it was just a distraction. Like, oh, I'm going to do this thing which will help me be fine, but right now I didn't feel fine, so I needed to see that. And so I went against mom and dad's advice, because I noticed I was close to something and I needed to speak in order to become aware of what I was close to, in order to become aware of what is going on with me. And that's why often I resist advice that they give, because it's like distracting me from the real point of what I'm feeling, of what I'm going through. I need to talk about it, I need to explain it, or for someone to listen to me, or for someone to help me become even more aware of that, so that I can really figure out what it is. And it's only when mom and dad stopped trying to give me the advice or tell me what to do that can help me. It's only then that I actually became aware of all of this and had this massive learning and big like healing, and felt so much pain though as well. Like, how horrible how I'm not feeling okay. Like I haven't been for over a year. This video was kind of weird for me to make because my thoughts were kind of fried often, and then it was just like a really busy morning. I was babysitting and I had therapy just before this, like, and then I went on to this video as well. So like it was a lot, and yeah, it didn't feel like a real flow, this video. Often when I make videos it just feels like, oh, it's like a flow, I remember clear, like, but yeah, it was a bit of a struggle to make this video today. But I hope I got the main point onto this video, even though it's not the exact words that were said and it wasn't the exact experience now that I've got on video. But yeah, my subconscious will always know what happened and will always be able to guide me with the real learning that I had, even if I couldn't so clearly explain it in this video. But that's the way it is. Now I'm gonna just relax for the rest of the evening, for the rest of the day, and yeah, I really hope it made sense. It was very fascinating, yeah, very scary, very painful. I cried very hard, but mom was there for me, just hugged me, supported me, and I saw how horrible it all really feels, how absolutely horrible it feels. And was so afraid to see that, and still am afraid to see that in case I can't handle it. But it was just so much pain. I just couldn't distract myself from it. I just needed to see it. And it's just so horrible. But again, I know I will be okay. And that's, of course, something I'm absolutely terrified of losing. That losing the trust, losing the knowing that I will be okay. I think it can't be lost, but I'm scared that it can be, because that's obviously why I didn't want to see that I'm not feeling okay, in case like I'll never be okay, in case I'm actually not okay, and won't be okay and stuff. But that's like something mom said as well, when I said like on that property in the house, I just was so convinced like I can't feel such an immense pain again. Mom said that she believes in life you keep feeling pain, and you can keep feeling this deep pain, but it what changes is the way we deal with it, and then it doesn't feel so painful anymore. And even though I do agree with her totally and absolutely, I still believe that we can live free of pain, free of suffering, because I have lived that way before. I know that enlightenment is about living without pain and suffering, even though you can still feel like pain and emotions, but it doesn't change who you are. It doesn't affect who you are. It doesn't pull you down. You can still feel sad and feel grief, but it doesn't shake you. And I know that once I have found that part completely in myself where I'm just unshakable, then I'm basically living without pain. Yeah, I do believe it's possible to live without pain and suffering. And definitely what Mom said is true, that throughout our lives we can always feel up and down in pain, but it's the way that we deal with it, the way that we handle it, that is what changes and what will make it easier or harder. So, yeah. And obviously the fact that I didn't want to see how I'm not okay and I kept like distracting myself from it also, of course, shows that the pain I was feeling, like subconsciously, obviously was so strong that I felt the need to distract myself because I didn't know if I could handle it, if I could survive it. I didn't know how I could live with it. So it just shows how much pain there really was, that I had to distract myself, that I was so scared of seeing it. Thanks for watching. Take care, and until the next time. Bye.